DOJ says that it's seeking the death penalty for 44 defendants. Just for context, federal executions are pretty rare. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, since 1977, just 16 people have been executed on the federal level, and 13 of them were during President Trump's first term. But on the state level, more than 1,600 people have been executed since 1977, according to the center. And last year, 3 of them were killed by firing squad in Carolina. Rob, why is the Trump administration so keen on bringing back the death penalty just in general? Because 13 out of 16 death penalty cases since the 70s in one presidential term is incredible to think about. But the reason I'm asking that is because here's what the stats say. Since 1973, 202 former death row prisoners have been exonerated of all charges related to the wrongful convictions that had put them on death row in the first place. There is a great degree of error here. Why are they so obsessed with the death penalty?
Oh, Abby, it came to me first on this one. I'm a newly confirmed Catholic as of Easter Sunday, so you put me in a tough spot here.
That's awesome.
Wow. But no, I'll try to answer from the perspective that maybe the Trump administration is approaching this. So I think a couple of factors. Number one, we know that during the Biden administration, that president moved away from the death penalty at the federal level. And so Donald Trump, as you showed in the numbers, obviously believes that the death penalty is an effective deterrence when it comes to some crimes. I think secondarily, what the DOJ has said in this particular case of bringing back these other types of executions is that pharmaceutical companies aren't supplying the drugs for lethal injections, and those lethal injections sometimes result in more suffering for those who are on death row. And so these other forms of execution may be
a firing squad?
Yeah, that's the merciful, shot in your stomach with a big
getting
bullet.
Shot by several bullets.
There's no way to say that's more kind, that it's more merciful. There's just no way.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
Well, look, I've been a criminal justice guy for 30 plus years, and I think Americans would be shocked by how much error there is in these death penalty convictions. If you are in the wrong neighborhood, if you don't have a lot of money, you're going to get very bad counsel. And then you're going to get a sentence that's very hard to get out of, and it can take years and years. And sometimes the clock runs out and people are put to death that the entire system knows are innocent. But it's just a system. Once you get that bad outcome early on, it's almost impossible to roll it back. So what you don't want to do is to rush more people into a situation where they're going to be killed. I don't care if it's with a needle or with a rifle, because they can't come back. And so I think when Americans look at the system and they realize how fragile it is, how many people wind up if you're rich and guilty, you're better off than if you're poor and innocent in our system. And that's a problem.
Abby, I would say I've been Catholic all my life, pretty much. And it is a religion that was founded on capital punishment, when you think about it, crucifixion, which is ironic of all things, But this is a symptom of what I like to call MAGA masculinity, And MAGA masculinity has to express itself in the amount of kills you make, the disses, the owns, the way that you have to slam people, you have to do it with force, shithole countries, words like that, It's not a display of leadership, which is a good sign of masculinity. It's a good trait, It's a sign of tearing down and using force and destruction and all these things. Even his tweet about destroying an entire civilization, there's no reason to tweet something like that. But it's I call that MAGA masculinity, that kind of form. It's in that.
Perhaps to your point, I mean, take a look at this tweet from Congressman Tim Burchett. It says, "Now do hanging," in response to the firing squad.
Is that supposed to be funny?
I don't think he's joking. I think he's being actually quite serious.
I agree.
Public hangings. Look, he doesn't have the power to do this, but the idea that would be brought back into the public sphere, given the history.
Yeah, Abby, I think that tweets like that and even this is a story are way off base. And I'm just going to echo some of my colleagues about the faith piece. Like I'm a pro-life guy from the womb to the tomb. The last capital punishment on earth that was the payment for the sins of the world was Jesus Christ on the cross. And so I don't think that we should be doing these types of things anyway. I think that if people commit bad crimes, they should spend the rest of their life in jail. if that's what the court levies against them. But I wish the president, this is a time where I wish the president and his communications team would lean into the wins. The working family tax cut bill, some of the peace negotiations the president's done around the world, some of the domestic policy wins, even though you all might disagree, we're getting ready to come into a midterm that's going to be rough. And I wish that this White House would lean into those wins, would sell those wins to the American people and make those known instead of focusing on a firing squad thing. So this is one of the things I have to go back to and say, why is this the story when you have a president who, frankly, I think has been quite successful? I think millions of Americans agree. Let's galvanize those Americans, get them to the polls, get them excited about going and get involved in these midterms. Not talking about a firing squad issue here. I don't know why this is a story.
Well, personally, Trump has been a fan of the death penalty publicly, at least since the 1980s when he called for it with the Central Park Five, as you know, and they were exonerated.
Completely exonerated.
They were exonerated. So another example of how this can work or not work.
Yeah, these types of tweets, I'll also say, are dangerous. We shouldn't be even having a conversation about bringing back public hangings. I think tweets like this are dangerous. The one where the senator said, he celebrated the idea that the Strait of Hormuz Navy ships are being destroyed. All these types of tweets are dangerous, and they're below the office that these gentlemen and ladies hold. So this is not the right conversation we should be having.
You know where we've been hearing about public executions lately? In Iran.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Hangings,
Right. Yes.
firing squads. If that were to suddenly become part of American life, where do we end up?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's a very good point. I hadn't thought about it, but I mean, that's part of the reason that people want the Islamic Republic of Iran to go away and let the Iranian people and the Persian people actually have, real freedom, because they hang people for fun in Iran. They hang them off of cranes. I mean, it's a part of their kind of despotic rule. And I think America should be going in the opposite direction from the Islamic Republic of Iran.
I agree with this. And it's more than Trump just not saying something bad. He needs to lead. He should point out those types of distinctions of what makes this civilization more important and better. He should point those out and have some gravitas and seriousness with it. I'm telling you, in terms of independence, he would have so many more people understanding why are people possibly dying in this war. We need to know some really good reasons, not just obliterate people dropping mines.
But I think what you said about the macho-ness is right. He gets so drawn into it and loses any of what the presidency is really about, which is about lifting the country up, lifting people up to higher ground, not dragging them down. But he gets so, unfortunately, sucked into that.
Yeah.
All right.